I'm on day 13 of self-isolation. Welcome. Hello Space Fairies and City Mermaids. Yes, I added one. It felt relevant. If you've somehow made it this far into the video without seeing the title, A, how? B, this next bit might come as a surprise to you. I made a mermaid tail. No, I'm not joking. In fact, I'm finally living my truth. When I was younger, any time an adult who I was not related to asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I would always say, "An artist." And then the adult would be like, "That's quite unrealistic, try again." So then I would say mermaid, and the adult would be like, "Yeah, better." Joke's on you adults, I can do both. I follow so many professional mermaids on Instagram, and guys, I gotta tell you, the tail envy, it's real bad. My big dream is to one day commission a custom dragon skin silicone tail from one of my favourite merfolk designers, but I don't have £4,000 because, as we already covered, I wanted to be an artist. Luckily, the merfolk community is wonderful and welcoming, and also the internet exists, and also I am an artist. So naturally, I decided to learn how to make my own. Not my own silicone one, that would be insane. But a lot of performing and modelling mermaids also use fabric tails, so that is where I decided to start. I just want to preface this by saying, please do not consider this a tutorial by any means. I am still a mere beginner trying to find my way in this world under the sea. Think of it as more of a blow-by-blow account of how I ended up with what I ended up with. And it all started with step 1, getting some help from the experts. The first place I went to for tips and tutorials was Courtney Mermaid's channel. That is also the last place I went to for help, because as it turns out, Courtney has published a book all about how to make fabric mermaid tails, which I bought immediately. Step 2, if you're going to swim in your tail at any point, which I was hoping to do before I started being in my house forever, you're going to want to buy a monofin. So step 2 was buy a monofin. Step 3. Since fabric tails are generally made out of swimsuit fabric and are therefore very stretchy, you can just buy and make tails in generic sizes like small, medium, large, etc. But if you're already making your own tail, why not just commit to the bit? Use your own measurements. And that's exactly what I did. For this next bit, I found a massive roll of hospital bed paper that Echo bought once and then left in my house 3 years ago. Did I get rid of it? No, I did not, because I am that messy bitch you hope you never live with at uni. So I unroll it, I lay on it wearing my monofin, and then using the core strength, which I do not have, I trace around the fin, my legs, my hips, and a part of my abdomen. And then once I had my true to life outline sketched out on this hospital bed paper, I took a bird's eye view photograph of the whole thing. The longer way to do this would be to take that outline and measure everything on it, and then write those measurements down, and then use those to create a template in Photoshop or Illustrator or any kind of drawing software. I did not do it the longer way because I am an impatient fool. What I actually did was I took that photo, I imported it directly into Photoshop, I scaled it up so that the measurements matched the fin measurements exactly, so I knew I was working with the right size, and then on a new separate layer I traced the whole damn thing with the pen tool. So now I have my 1-to-1 scale, proportionately accurate outline of my body and thus tail. I have a template. What follows is step 5. Which in reality was just 4 days of me sat in my very comfy chair whilst my increasingly slow computer tried to process the massive file every time I added a new colour. I did not have a plan for this design when I set out. I just knew that I was vaguely inspired by the voidfish from the Adventure Zone, and as you know, I like purple and blue a lot. So after a lot of rendering, I end up with this. Boom! Tail design. So step 7, leap of faith. Print the bitch. I researched a lot of fabric printing companies for this, a lot of UK based places that specialised in swim appropriate fabrics like neoprene or spandex or even lycra. And I eventually go with Bags of Love because they had great reviews and because they had very competitive turnaround times, and also they offered sublimation dye printing, which I have yet to properly understand what that means in the grand scheme of things. But some merfolk forums had mentioned that it lasts longer than other methods of printing, especially in treated or salt water, so I went with that, I guess. I'd like to take this moment real quick to reiterate that I'm not an expert. By the way, if you hear like a low buzzing throughout any of this video, it's because my neighbours have got the lawnmower out. Just want to flag real quick, no one on our street has a garden. Now obviously this tail needs a front and a back, which in a lot of examples I see online were two separate designs. However, as we've established, I'm an impatient fool, so I just flipped the design I already had. I went to Bags of Love, I uploaded the two different images, I paid up so much money, and now we play the waiting game. Step 8. My fabric has arrived! Time to painstakingly cut out both sides, leaving a small margin of plain white fabric for sewing space. I did also account for sewing space by leaving a colour matching border around the design, but I just wanted to be extra safe. Step 9. Fold it all up together and then just forget about it for a month because you get really sad that your trip to see the McElroys got cancelled. Step 10. Pins. It's just pins. You're just pinning it together. Step 11, sewing. So much sewing. I didn't start sewing the tail right away. First I did a couple of trial runs with the new sewing machine so I could figure out the tension and also experiment with what stitch would work best with the stretchy fabric. I went with the 3-step zigzag. And then I finally sewed up the whole damn thing. I did not film all of that. Not even for time-lapse purposes, partially because it took 4 hours, mostly because it was day 8 of self-isolation and I'd really nailed the aesthetic that I call giving up. And finally, step 12, tail. I have a mermaid tail. Have a look. I am over the moon that I now can just have a mermaid tail and live my best mermaid life. The genuine plan was to go swimming in it, learn how to swim in it, learn how to perform in it. I was going to go to mermaid classes, freediving school, a mermaid convention, all with my beautiful new custom tail, and now I'm never allowed to leave the house. So one day, when we're all free, I will do exactly that. There are things that I already know I want to improve on for the next one that I make because obviously I'm going to make so many more. Stuff like I'd want to design and then sew on the ankle fins separately rather than having them part of the body design. I want to invest in A1 clear vinyl sheets to use as inserts so that the fluke can hold its shape but also be waterproof because right now it's just cardboard in there. And I want to try different designs with different levels of detail. My flatmate wants me to make an 80s neon one and challenge accepted, quite frankly. But yeah, I finally have my very own actual wearable swimmable mermaid tail and it is fabulous and I'm very happy. Thank you for watching this video. If you are watching it during any of our many respective lockdowns, I hope you're staying safe, staying indoors and washing your hands. If you're watching this after all the lockdowns have ended, what's the world like now? Genuinely thank you for watching and liking and subscribing and just being here. It's just nice to have you here. I'm gonna go put my tail on now. Bye.